The phone was on speaker when my father's voice filled the lobby. "I'm calling to warn you about Maya Collins." My hand froze on the conference room door handle. 50 feet away, he had cornered Derek, my newly hired operations manager, backing him against the reception desk. "She's incompetent, always has been. I need to speak with her supervisor before she destroys this company." Derek's face went pale as he glanced toward me, clearly panicking. My father didn't notice. He was too busy performing, phone held high like a weapon. The elevator dinged behind them, and 3 members of my executive team stepped out, freezing mid-conversation. "Let me connect you with her boss right now," my father announced, already dialing. My pulse hammered in my ears as Derek stammered into his own phone. The voice that answered echoed through the marble lobby. "This is Kyle Richardson." My father straightened, confidence surging. Finally, someone with authority. "Sir, I need to inform you that Maya Collins is a fraud and shouldn't be managing anything." The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then Kyle's voice, cold and precise. "Sir, she's actually my boss." Gasps rippled through the lobby. My father's face drained of color. Every eye turned toward me as security started moving forward. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. This was supposed to be my biggest client presentation, and instead, my career was imploding in front of everyone. I stepped into the hallway, legs shaking so badly I had to grip the wall. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. My name is Maya Collins. I'm 31 years old, Director of Data Strategy at NextCore Financial, a fintech startup in Austin that's grown from 12 people to 203 years. I built my career from nothing, every promotion a middle finger to the man who just tried to destroy me in front of my team. My chest felt tight as I leaned against the cold wall, watching through the glass as security escorted my father toward the exit. He wasn't struggling. He was still talking, gesturing wildly, probably explaining how this was all a misunderstanding. But everyone in that lobby had heard it. My new hire had heard it. My executive team had heard it. Worst of all, I had heard the tremor in my own voice when I tried to say something, anything, and nothing came out. Derek appeared beside me, his face apologetic. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do." He just started talking and I panicked. "It's not your fault," I managed, though my voice sounded hollow. This is exactly what my father does. He finds the weakest link and pulls until everything unravels. I just never thought he'd do it here, in my building, on the most important day of my quarter. When I was 16, I spent 6 months building a weather prediction model for the science fair. I used historical data, algorithms I taught myself from library books, and a borrowed laptop that crashed twice a day. The night before the fair, my father stood in my bedroom doorway, arms crossed, watching me test the presentation. "This is a waste of electricity," he said. "You're not smart enough for this." I remember staring at the screen, refusing to cry, refusing to give him the satisfaction. The next day, I won first place. He didn't come to the ceremony. That was his pattern. He'd crush my confidence, then act surprised when I succeeded anyway. He called it making me stronger, teaching me discipline. But all it taught me was to stop sharing my victories with him. By college, I stopped inviting him to anything. By my first promotion, I stopped calling altogether. For 6 years, we barely spoke. I built my life in silence, away from his voice, away from his doubt. I thought distance would be enough. I thought success would prove something. Instead, it just made me a bigger target. Because now I had something he wanted, and he'd decided it was his right to take it. 3 months ago, he showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find him holding a box of pastries and wearing a smile I didn't trust. "Maya, sweetheart. It's been too long." I stood in the doorway, key still in my hand, blocking his path. "What do you want? Can't a father visit his daughter?" He pushed past me into the living room, setting the pastries on my counter like he owned the place. I've been thinking about you. About us. I wanted to reconnect. I didn't believe him, but guilt has a way of overriding instinct. He's still your father, a voice whispered. Maybe people change. So I made coffee while he talked about his new consulting business, his plans, his ideas. He asked about my job with the kind of casual interest that felt rehearsed. You're doing well at NextCore, right? Director of something? Data strategy, I corrected. He nodded slowly, I scanning my apartment, taking inventory of everything I'd built without him. That must come with a nice salary. Good benefits. I bet you have access to some important people. And there it was. The real reason for the visit. Not reconciliation. Reconnaissance. He wanted something from me, and he was laying groundwork. 2 weeks later, he texted asking to meet for coffee. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat in a corner booth at a cafe near my office, and he wasted no time. I need an introduction to your CTO, he said, stirring sugar into his espresso. My consulting firm specializes in compliance auditing. NextCore could use my services. I set my cup down carefully. We already have compliance partners. He waved that away. I'm sure they're fine, but I could offer you a family discount. Plus, it would be good for us to work together, don't you think? No, I said. His face hardened. No? Just like that? Dad, mixing family and business is a bad idea. You taught me that, remember? He leaned back, jaw tight. After everything I've done for you, you can't do this one simple thing? Everything you've done? I kept my voice low, aware of other customers nearby. You told me I'd fail at everything I tried. You skipped my college graduation. You haven't called me in 6 years except when you need something. He stood abruptly. You're being dramatic. I'll reach out to your CTO myself. He walked out, leaving me with the check and a sinking feeling that this was just the beginning. The email hit my inbox on a Thursday morning. Subject line, ethical concerns regarding Maya Collins. It was anonymous, sent to HR, copied to 3 executives. My stomach dropped as I read the accusations. Someone claimed I had falsified metrics on the Carter Medical project, our biggest client win last quarter. Attached was a spreadsheet, identical to one I'd shared with my father over coffee, except numbers had been altered to make it look like I'd inflated our success rates. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. This was professional murder. If anyone believed this, my career was over. My assistant knocked on my glass door. Maya, HR wants to see you in 30 minutes. I nodded, unable to speak. My father had taken the information I'd shared in good faith, weaponized it, and sent it anonymously to destroy me. But he'd made one mistake. The original file was still in my secure drive, with timestamps proving I'd created it weeks before our coffee meeting. I had metadata. I had access logs. I had proof. I just had to stay calm long enough to use it. 30 minutes to save my career from the man who was supposed to protect it. I pulled up our system's access logs before the HR meeting. The doctored file had been opened from a guest Wi-Fi account near my father's address, accessed at 9:42 p.m., 3 days after our coffee. My hand shook as I took screenshots, saved the metadata, and forwarded everything to our legal counsel with a subject line, urgent evidence of external sabotage. Then I walked to HR with printed copies in a folder, my professional mask firmly in place. Trina, our HR director, sat across from me with a neutral expression. I'm sure you've seen the email. I have, and I have evidence proving those documents are fake. I slid the folder across the table. Original file with timestamps, access logs showing an external breach, and metadata proving the alterations happened after I presented the real numbers to executives. Trina reviewed everything carefully. Do you know who might have done this? I hesitated. This was the line. Once I said it, there was no going back. My father. He's been pressuring me for business introductions. When I refused, this happened. Trina's expression shifted from neutral to concerned. We'll need to loop in legal and investigate this thoroughly. In the meantime, you're cleared to continue your work. I nodded, relief flooding through me. But as I left her office, I knew this wasn't over. My father had just declared war. Now I had to fight back without destroying myself in the process. Sunday dinner at my aunt's house was supposed to be safe territory. I walked in expecting lasagna and small talk, but my father was already seated at the table, smiling too widely. Maya, honey, sit next to me. My aunt avoided my eyes as she served salad. I should have left immediately, but leaving would have caused a scene, and I was tired of scenes. So I sat, fork gripped too tightly, while conversation drifted around me. Halfway through dinner, my father cleared his throat. I've been worried about Maya lately. She's under a lot of pressure at work. I hope you're keeping your numbers honest, sweetheart. The table went silent. My aunt's fork stopped midway to her mouth. My cousin stared at his plate. You know how these tech companies are, he continued, voice heavy with concern. So much temptation to exaggerate results for investors. I set my fork down with deliberate care. Are you accusing me of something? Of course not, he said, but his smile said otherwise. Just reminding you that integrity matters more than promotions. I stood, grabbing my purse. Thank you for dinner, Aunt Maria. I need to go. Maya, wait, my aunt started, but I was already out the door. In my car, hands shaking on the steering wheel, I finally let the tears come. He wasn't just sabotaging my career anymore. He was poisoning my family against me, one dinner at a time. The flowers arrived Monday morning. 24 white roses with a card in my father's handwriting. Sorry if I embarrassed you at dinner. Just want to keep you grounded. Love, Dad. I stared at them sitting on my desk, their perfume making me nauseous. This was his pattern. Attack, then apologize. Make me doubt whether I'd overreacted. Make everyone else think he was the reasonable one trying to help his difficult daughter. My assistant poked her head in. Those are gorgeous. From someone special? I picked up the vase and walked straight to the break room dumpster. The crash of glass and water echoed as I dropped them in, roses scattering among coffee grounds and discarded lunch containers. Back in my office, I blocked my father's number and drafted an email to my aunt. I won't be attending family events if he's invited. This isn't negotiable anymore. Her response came within minutes. You're overreacting. He's just trying to reconnect. I closed my laptop without responding. Overreacting. That's what they always said when someone finally stood up to a bully. The problem wasn't my reaction. The problem was that I'd waited this long to have one. My father had spent years teaching me to second-guess myself. Now he was learning that lesson had expired. The call came from our VP of Business Development, Felix, on a Wednesday afternoon. Maya, we have a problem. TechBridge Solutions just pitched our proprietary risk assessment model to Carter Medical. Word for word. My blood went cold. That model was our competitive advantage, the algorithm I'd spent 18 months developing. How? I need you to audit who's had access, Felix said. This is a major breach. I pulled the file permissions immediately. Standard team access, plus one guest consultant account created 6 weeks ago. I traced the IP. My father's address. The guest account was labeled TC Consulting, my father's company name buried in the metadata. He hadn't just tried to embarrass me. He'd committed corporate espionage and sold my work to a competitor. I documented everything and called an emergency meeting with Felix and our legal counsel, Aaron Vaughn. This is theft, Aaron said, reviewing my evidence. Industrial espionage. We can pursue criminal charges. Do it, Felix said. I don't care who he is to you, Maya. This crossed every line. I nodded, throat tight. He's not my father anymore. He's just another person who tried to steal from this company. but inside, I felt something break. The last thread of hope that he might still love me, that this might still be fixable, snapped cleanly. There was no going back now. Erin's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Austin. I sat across from her, watching traffic crawl below while she reviewed my documentation for the third time. "This is textbook sabotage," she said. "Multiple incidents, clear motive, solid evidence. We can get a restraining order and pursue charges. But I need you to understand something. Once we file, this becomes public. Your father will know you're the one who reported him." I swallowed hard. He already knows. He's been escalating because I won't back down. Then we move forward. Erin made notes on her tablet. First step is a cease and desist letter. We'll send it certified, create a paper trail. Document every contact attempt after that. If he violates the order, we have grounds for legal action. What about my job? I asked. Will this affect how people see me? Erin looked up, expression firm. Maya, you didn't cause this. You're the victim of targeted harassment. Anyone who judges you for that isn't worth your concern. But her words didn't stop the shame burning in my chest. My father's actions were becoming my identity, the daughter whose father tried to destroy her career. I left Erin's office with a plan and a weight I couldn't shake. This wasn't just about protecting my job anymore. It was about deciding whether I'd let him define my life, even in his absence. The meeting request from our CEO, Vincent Park, appeared in my calendar without warning. Subject, urgent discussion. My stomach dropped. Vincent ran NextCore with quiet intensity, rarely involving himself in departmental issues unless something was seriously wrong. I knocked on his office door at exactly 2 p.m. He gestured to a chair, closing his laptop. Maya, I received a phone call this morning that concerns me. Someone claiming to be a family friend said you're emotionally unstable and making erratic decisions. Before I could respond, he raised a hand. I'm telling you this because I don't believe it. But I need to know what's happening so I can protect you and this company. I pulled out the folder I'd been carrying everywhere, the same evidence I'd shown HR and legal. My father has been systematically trying to destroy my career because I refused to give him access to our clients. This is his latest attempt. Vincent reviewed everything in silence, his expression darkening with each page. This man is your father? Yes. Vincent closed the folder. This ends now. I'm authorizing a full security review and adding your father to our banned visitor list. Thank you, I whispered. He met my eyes. You've handled this with remarkable professionalism. Most people would have crumbled by now. I haven't crumbled yet, I said. But I'm getting close. That night, I called him. My hand shook as I dialed the number I'd blocked a week ago, but I needed to hear his voice one more time. I needed to understand why. He answered on the second ring. Maya. Finally ready to talk sense? Why are you doing this? My voice cracked despite my effort to stay calm. I'm your daughter. You're supposed to protect me, not destroy me. There was a long pause. Then his voice, cold and measured. Because you've forgotten who made you. Everything you have, every opportunity, exists because I pushed you. You were weak, and I made you strong. You didn't make me strong, I said. You made me afraid. And now you're trying to take away everything I built without you. That's exactly the problem, he replied. You think you did this alone. You think you don't need me anymore. So I'm reminding you how quickly it can all fall apart. I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. But I'd gotten what I needed. Confirmation that this wasn't about helping me or protecting anyone. This was about control, about a father who couldn't accept that his daughter had outgrown his shadow. I saved the recording, added it to my evidence file, and poured a glass of wine. Tomorrow I'd fight back. Tonight, I'd just survive. I arranged one final meeting at a coffee shop downtown, recording app hidden in my phone. My father arrived 15 minutes late, clearly annoyed at being summoned. This better be important, Maya. I'm a busy man. I need to understand your endgame, I said. What do you actually want from me? He leaned back, studying me. I want you to remember that family comes first. I want introductions to your executives. I want respect for the sacrifices I made raising you. And if I refuse? Then you'll keep learning hard lessons. He smiled. I've been talking to Trevor Marks in your compliance department. Nice guy. Very interested in my insights about data handling irregularities. My blood ran cold. Trevor was new, ambitious, and exactly the kind of person my father could manipulate. You're threatening me. I'm teaching you humility, he corrected. You've gotten arrogant, Maya. Someone needs to remind you that success is fragile. Every word was captured. Every threat, every admission, recorded and timestamped. I stood, leaving money on the table. This is the last time we'll speak as father and daughter. From now on, any communication goes through lawyers. His expression flickered, uncertainty crossing his face for the first time. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I'm fixing one. I walked out, phone heavy in my pocket, evidence complete. The war was over. Now came the consequences. The HR investigation concluded on a Friday. Aaron called me into a conference room where Trina and Vincent waited with serious expressions. We've completed our review, Trina said. Based on the evidence you provided, we're issuing a formal exoneration statement clearing your name of all allegations. Furthermore, we've identified the breach point and implemented new security protocols. My father's consultant account had been terminated, his contact information flagged across our vendor systems. Vincent added, we're also sending a formal notice to TechBridge Solutions about the stolen intellectual property. Our legal team is pursuing full damages. Thank you, I managed. This was vindication, proof I hadn't been paranoid or overdramatic. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhaustion. That afternoon, my father's name appeared on an internal incident report circulated to all department heads. Maya Collins was subjected to targeted harassment and corporate espionage by an external party. All claims against her judgment and performance are baseless and dismissed. 3 executives messaged me directly with support. Felix sent a gift basket. But the best message came from Derek, my operations manager. For what it's worth, I never doubted you were the boss. I smiled at my screen, the first genuine smile in weeks. My father had tried to destroy my authority. Instead, he'd just proven how much I'd earned it on my own. The retaliation came through email. One of our investors, Marcus Hernandez, forwarded me a message with the subject line, "Protect your money from arrogance." I opened it with growing dread. Marcus, I'm reaching out as someone concerned about your investment in NextCore Financial. Maya Collins, their director of data strategy, has been promoted far beyond her competence through nepotism and manipulation. I have evidence of ethical violations and financial mismanagement that should concern any serious investor. I suggest demanding an independent audit before she destroys shareholder value. The email was signed with my father's full name and consulting company details. Marcus had added a note above. Maya, this arrived this morning. Wanted you to see it before I responded. Guy sounds unhinged. Let me know if you need anything. I forwarded it to Aaron with shaking hands. My father wasn't just attacking my job anymore. He was attacking the company's funding, trying to trigger an investor panic that could collapse everything we'd built. Aaron's response was immediate. This constitutes defamation and tortious interference. We're escalating to criminal charges. I'll have papers filed by Monday. I stared at my computer screen, at the long thread of my father's attacks, and felt something shift. He thought he was breaking me. Instead, he was just destroying himself, one scorched earth email at a time. And I was done trying to save him from the consequences. Monday morning, Vincent called an executive meeting. I walked in expecting damage control. Instead, I found champagne. Felix grinned as I entered. "Congratulations, VP of Data Operations." I froze. "What?" Vincent gestured to an empty chair. "We've been planning your promotion for weeks. The board wanted to wait until Q3, but given how you've handled this crisis, they agreed to accelerate the timeline." My throat tightened. "A promotion? Now?" Felix jumped in. "You've proven you can handle pressure, protect company assets, and lead with integrity. Those are exactly the qualities we need at the executive level. Besides," he added with a wink, "your father's sabotage accidentally showcased your crisis management skills." The board was impressed. I accepted the promotion in a daze, shaking hands, smiling for photos. But the irony wasn't lost on me. My father had spent months trying to prove I was incompetent. Instead, he'd created situations where I demonstrated the opposite, over and over, to increasingly senior audiences. That evening, I texted my aunt with the news. Her response was brief. "Your father will be devastated." "Good," I typed back. "Maybe he'll finally learn that destroying people doesn't make him powerful. It just makes him alone." I blocked her number before she could respond. Sometimes you have to choose between peace and family. I was learning to choose peace. The journalist's email arrived Tuesday afternoon. Subject: following up on documents I received. I opened it cautiously. "Ms. Collins, my name is Priya Kapoor. I write for Tech Ethics Quarterly. Someone sent me documents claiming corruption and nepotism at NextCore Financial, specifically regarding your position. I'm reaching out for comment before publication. I'd like to hear your side." My first instinct was panic. Then I read her tone again. She wasn't attacking. She was asking. I called Erin immediately. "Should I respond?" "Absolutely," she said. "And send her everything we have. Let's get ahead of this." I spent 3 hours crafting a response, attaching the full evidence file, recordings, timeline, and legal documentation of my father's harassment campaign. Priya called me the next day. "This is incredible," she said. "I've never seen such thoroughly documented corporate sabotage. Your father sent me his accusations without realizing how much they incriminated him. Can I write this as an ethics case study?" I hesitated. "It'll be public. Everyone will know." "They should," Priya said gently. "This isn't just your story. It's a warning about what happens when family dynamics infect professional spaces." The article published 2 weeks later. The headline: "When Family Becomes the Threat, a Case Study in Corporate Sabotage and Emotional Abuse." It went viral in tech circles within hours. My inbox flooded with messages from other women sharing similar stories. And my father? He stayed silent for the first time in months. The call from my cousin came on a Saturday. "Maya, have you seen what happened to Uncle?" I pulled up my laptop while she talked. The state licensing board had suspended my father's consulting license pending investigation for falsified references and fraudulent business practices. Several complaints had been filed, including one from TechBridge Solutions after they discovered the stolen data he'd sold them was traceable back to corporate espionage. "Your father is saying you did this to him," my cousin continued. "He's telling everyone you're vindictive and ungrateful." "Did I do this?" I asked. "Or did he do this to himself by committing actual crimes?" Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Believe the evidence," I said. "I have documentation for everything. He made choices, and now he's facing consequences. But none of you wanted to see it when he was destroying me." My cousin hung up without saying goodbye. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. "How could you? You've destroyed him. He's family." I turned my phone off and sat in my quiet apartment, feeling nothing but relief. For years, I'd chased his approval. Now I felt only the lightness of finally letting go. I didn't destroy him. I just stopped protecting him from himself. The panic attack hit me on a Tuesday evening. I was home alone, reviewing data models, when my chest suddenly tightened. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted sideways. I slid to the floor, gasping, phone clutched in my shaking hand. For 20 minutes, I sat against my kitchen cabinets, convinced I was dying. When it finally passed, I lay on the cold tile, staring at the ceiling, emotionally hollowed out. This wasn't about my father anymore. This was about the toll of months spent in constant fight-or-flight mode, waiting for the next attack, the next email, the next public humiliation. I called a therapist the next morning. Her name was Dr. Morgan Webb, and her first question was simple. "What do you need right now?" "Permission to fall apart," I whispered. "Then fall apart," she said. "You've earned it." Over the following weeks, we unpacked decades of emotional manipulation. The way my father weaponized doubt, made love conditional, taught me that success only mattered if he approved it. Dr. Webb helped me see what I'd been too close to recognize. This wasn't about being strong enough. It was about being allowed to be human. In one session, she asked me to write a letter I'd never send. I wrote 17 pages. Every hurt, every betrayal, every moment I'd swallowed his cruelty and kept moving. Then we burned it in her office fireplace. The ashes felt like closure. The email arrived on a Wednesday morning, sender blocked but message clear. "You ruined me. Hope you're proud of yourself. Everything I built is gone because of your lies. I hope you can live with what you've done to your own father." I stared at the screen, waiting for guilt or sadness. Instead, I felt only a distant kind of pity. He still didn't understand. Even now, stripped of his license and his credibility, he saw himself as the victim. I forwarded the email to Aaron without responding. "This violates the cease and desist. Want me to file for a restraining order?" "Yes," I replied. "Do it." That afternoon, I blocked every email variant of his name I could think of. I changed my phone number and didn't give the new one to any relatives. I scrubbed my social media accounts, locked down my privacy settings, built walls he couldn't climb. My father had taught me to always be accessible, to always answer his calls, to always prioritize family above everything else. Now I was learning a different lesson. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes protection means disappearing. Sometimes the only way to heal is to become unreachable. I didn't owe him my suffering. I didn't owe him access to my life. I didn't owe him anything except the truth, and I'd already given him that. The silence that followed was my new armor. Dr. Webb assigned me homework. Find someone to mentor. Someone who reminds you of your younger self. I found her in our analytics department. Her name was Zara Patel, 23, brilliant with data but terrified of speaking up in meetings. I recognized that fear immediately. The way she'd shrink into her chair when questioned, the way she'd apologize before sharing ideas, the way she second-guessed every decision. Over coffee, I asked her about her background. "My parents wanted me to be a doctor," she admitted. "They think data analysis is beneath me. They don't come to my work events. They don't ask about my projects. They just ask when I'm going back to school." I felt something crack open in my chest. What would happen if you stopped trying to prove yourself to them? She looked startled. "I don't know. I've never considered that." "Start considering it," I said. "Because the people who love you shouldn't require constant proof of your worth." Over the next months, I watched Zara transform. She started presenting in meetings. She challenged assumptions. She stopped apologizing for her expertise. And when she asked me how to handle family pressure, I told her the truth. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. You can only save yourself. Teaching her felt like healing myself. Every confidence I helped her build was a piece of my own past I reclaimed. The final regulatory report arrived in spring. The state board had completed its investigation into my father's consulting business. Result: permanent license suspension for fraud, falsified credentials, and misrepresentation of services. 3 former clients had filed complaints. 2 business partners had cut ties publicly. The small empire he'd tried to build on my success crumbled like wet paper. Vincent forwarded me the news with a brief note. Thought you'd want to know. Justice, however slow, still arrives. I read the report twice, searching for some feeling beyond exhaustion. Relief, maybe. Vindication, certainly. But not satisfaction. There was no joy in watching someone self-destruct, even someone who'd tried to destroy me first. That evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. It was my aunt. Your father wants to talk to you. He's asking if you'd meet him. No, I said. He's lost everything, Maya. His business, his reputation. He has nothing left. Then maybe he'll finally understand what he tried to do to me, I replied. I'm not his redemption arc. I'm not his second chance. I'm just the daughter he chose to sacrifice for his ego. She hung up without another word. I turned my phone off and sat in the silence, feeling something shift. This wasn't victory. This was just the end of a very long, very painful chapter. And I was finally ready to close the book. The promotion ceremony took place in the same boardroom where my father had tried to humiliate me 6 months earlier. I stood at the head of the table while Vincent announced my permanent appointment as VP of Data Operations. Applause echoed off the glass walls. The same executives who'd witnessed my father's meltdown now watched me sign the contract with expressions of respect and pride. Derek approached me afterward, grinning. Remember when I thought your dad was calling my boss? Turns out he was right about one thing. You are everyone's boss now. I laughed, the sound surprising me with its genuineness. How are you settling in? Best decision I ever made, he said. Joining this company, I mean. Despite the, dramatic first day. Felix raised a champagne glass. To Maya Collins, who proved that competence, integrity, and grace under pressure are the only credentials that matter. The team cheered. I looked around the room at people who'd chosen to believe in me when it would have been easier not to. People who'd seen my father's attacks and stood beside me anyway. This was my real family. Not the one I was born into, but the one I'd built through trust and shared purpose. My father had tried to prove I didn't deserve this. Instead, he'd just made everyone more certain that I did. That night, I drove home with the signed contract on my passenger seat and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The scholarship announcement went live on a Monday morning. The Collins Scholarship for Women in Data Science, funded by my promotion bonus and named after my grandmother, Sylvia Collins, who died before I could tell her I'd made something of myself. The application criteria were simple. Academic excellence, financial need, and demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity. I wanted to find girls like Zara, like teenage me, girls who'd been told they weren't smart enough or didn't belong in technical fields. The first year, we received 300 applications. Reading them broke my heart and rebuilt it simultaneously. So many stories of fathers who didn't believe, families who didn't support, teachers who discouraged. So many young women fighting upstream against voices that said they weren't enough. We awarded 5 scholarships that first year. At the ceremony, I stood before the recipients and their families and told them the truth. This scholarship exists because someone tried to destroy me and failed. It exists because I refused to let doubt become my identity. It exists because my grandmother believed in me when no one else did, and I want to be that belief for someone else. After the ceremony, I went home and deleted my father's contact information permanently. Then I wrote a new emergency contact. Zara Patel. Because family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when everything falls apart. That evening, alone in my apartment, I whispered the words I'd been too afraid to say for months. You taught me everything about power, Dad. Just not the way you meant. You taught me that real strength isn't controlling others. It's surviving people who try to control you. You taught me that success isn't about approval. It's about building something that can't be taken away. The camera in my mind faded on my calm smile, looking out my window at the Austin skyline, success and peace, my ultimate revenge. Not because I'd destroyed him, but because I'd finally stopped letting him destroy me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.